The room was silent. Even the staff not involved in the earlier interaction had gone still. Clarice gestured toward the photo again. That woman was tired, scared, but she believed in something. And now we have 19 properties. You don't have to remember the number, just remember the reason. Then she walked back toward the lobby, stopping once more at the front desk. A security guard stood there, middle-aged, clean uniform, alert posture. Clarice turned to him. You recognized me earlier, didn't you? He cleared his throat. Yes, ma'am. Why didn't you say anything? He hesitated. Didn't feel like my place. Clarice looked at him with a trace of a smile. It's always your place to speak when something doesn't sit right. He gave a small nod. Not ashamed, but reflective. Then, from behind them, a housekeeper stepped forward. Young, probably no more than 19. She held a laundry cart and wore oversized gloves. I knew it was you, she said, almost in a whisper. I saw your interview with Ms. Cheryl Reeves on PBS. You talked about bathrooms being the first thing you cleaned before you could afford real staff. Clarice let out a warm breath. That's right. The young woman gave a nervous shrug. I just didn't want to get involved. I figured the front desk knew what they were doing. Clarice walked over to her. What's your name? Amaya. Well, Amaya, sometimes doing the right thing means stepping in, even when it's awkward. Amaya nodded slowly, then said, I'll remember that. Clarice smiled again, and turned to face the gathered team. Titles don't give you permission to lead. Courage does. Some of you stood back tonight. That's human. But what you do next? That's leadership. She paused, letting the words settle in their own weight. We're not just in the businesses of rooms and reservations. We're in the business of humanity. And right now, humanity needs all the help it can get. But Clarice knew words weren't enough. There had to be real consequences and real change. By the time the team made their way back to the staff lounge, the room felt different. Not tense, just alert. Like something important had taken root and no one wanted to be the first to disturb it. Clarice remained standing. Her bag still hung from her shoulder. She hadn't even taken off her travel shoes. Roy stood by the wall, silent, taking mental notes. Clarice spoke. Let's talk systems, she said. Because when someone makes a mistake, it usually means a system already failed. She gestured to the front desk supervisor, a man in his early 30s named Rylan, who'd joined midway through the discussion. What's the official procedure when someone walks in without a reservation? Rylan cleared his throat. We're instructed to check for availability, then offer current rates. If we're over 90% full, we're supposed to ask a manager to approve walk-in bookings. And were you there when I came in? Clarice asked. No, ma'am. I was on dinner break. Clarice turned toward Kaylee, who was still seated but now holding a notepad, taking everything in with quiet intensity. Did you know that protocol? Kaylee nodded, almost embarrassed. I just assumed the rooms on the board weren't available. They sometimes aren't. But you didn't ask, Clarice replied. You didn't double-check. You didn't involve a supervisor. Kaylee stayed quiet. It was a hard truth to swallow, but she didn't run from it. Clarice took a breath. So this isn't just about attitude. It's about training. It's about systems that allow assumptions to grow into decisions. Bad ones. She moved toward a whiteboard in the corner of the lounge and uncapped a marker. One of my mentors once told me, if you leave gaps, people will fill them, with their own biases. That's why policy matters. She wrote 3 words: awareness, access, accountability. We're going to rewrite parts of your intake script, not next week, now, tonight. A few heads turned toward Roy in surprise. He simply gave a single nod. Clarice continued, I want new language in place that forces engagement, not assumption. If someone asks for a room, they deserve your full attention, no matter what they look like, no matter what they're wearing. Amaya, still standing by the door, raised her hand gently. Can we include something about letting staff speak up if they see something off? Like giving people permission to say something without getting in trouble? Clarice smiled. Absolutely. That goes under access. You can't change a place by staying quiet. Then the security guard, whose name tag read Melvin, spoke. "Miss Rowland, can I ask something?" "Go ahead." "What happens to someone who messes up once but learns from it?" Clarice gave a long pause before responding. "They get a second chance, if they show they're ready for one. This isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. Either you walk with the brand or you walk away from it." Her eyes landed back on Kaylee. "You've got a choice to make. I'm not going to fire you tonight, but you'll need to reapply for your position tomorrow. Not because I enjoy making anyone jump through hoops, but because I need to know that you understand what just happened." Kaylee didn't protest. She simply nodded. "I'd like to come back." Clarice nodded in return. "Then come back better." She turned to the rest of the group. "I'm not interested in perfect. I'm interested in real. Real people doing real work with real care." She capped the marker and stepped back from the board. "We've got properties across the southeast, and I plan to show up at every single one before the year ends. Some of you might see me in a suit, others might see me in jogging pants. Either way, greet me like you'd greet anyone else, with your eyes, your voice, and your full attention." But Clarice wasn't just leaving them with new rules. She was about to leave something even more permanent behind. By now the clock was nearing 11 p.m, but no one had left. Not a single yawn, not a glance at the time. Clarice had taken what could have been just another awkward HR incident and turned it into something no one in that room would forget. She walked slowly back toward the center of the lounge, her voice a little lower, more reflective. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life," she began, "and some of them cost me more than just money. They cost me time, relationships, but I've always believed in cleaning up after them." She turned to Roy. "Bring in HR first thing in the morning. We're revising onboarding materials, and we're starting monthly empathy training. Not some glossy, generic slideshow. I want case studies. I want real stories." Roy nodded without hesitation. Clarice looked around. People think running a hotel is about rooms, rates, and reviews, but it's about people. The ones who show up exhausted, the ones carrying secrets, grief, or pride in their luggage, and the people who greet them. "You all have more power than you think." She paused. "That kind of power has to be handled with care." Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small leather notebook. She held it up. "This little thing kept me grounded for years. Every new property, I wrote the same 3 questions in the back." She opened the back cover and read aloud. "Did every guest feel seen? Did every employee feel valued? Would I be proud if my mother walked in tonight?" Silence again. Not a heavy one, just deeply personal. "I'm giving this notebook to you, Roy," she said, handing it over. "Scan those pages. Send them to every location. I want every general manager to answer those 3 questions weekly. And I want the answers on my desk." Roy looked stunned. "You still carry this around?" "Every day," Clarice said. "Legacy doesn't carry itself." Then she turned to Kaylee once more. Her voice didn't harden, but it didn't soften either. "You'll come in tomorrow, shadow someone on every shift. Housekeeping, concierge, kitchen, maintenance. Learn this place from the inside out. You can't represent something you don't understand." "Yes, Ma'am," Kaylee said. "I want to." Clarice gave a faint nod. Then she turned to Amaya, still holding her laundry cart just inside the door. "You spoke up when you didn't have to. That means something. You're getting a raise. Roy, make it happen." Amaya's eyes widened. "Wait, seriously? You didn't just see something. You remembered it. That's what leadership looks like." Clarice then addressed the room one final time. "This hotel is a reflection of everyone in it. The moment we forget that, the brand means nothing, and I refuse to let it fall apart from the inside." One of the bartenders who'd quietly joined the back of the room raised his hand. "Can we keep doing these meetings? Like, even if you're not here?" Clarice said for the first time all night. "Absolutely. I want a culture, not a performance." She turned to Roy again. "Budget for monthly roundtables. No suits, no scripts, just real people talking." He jotted it down in her old notebook, now his responsibility to protect. Then Clarice checked her watch. It's late. I've got one more thing to do before I call it a night. The group began to disperse slowly, murmuring among themselves. Not drained, energized, changed. Clarice walked back through the hallway alone, past her portrait, past the soft glow of the lobby lights. She didn't stop until she reached the elevator. Roy caught up just before the doors closed. "Are you really staying the night?" Clarice pressed the button for the 12th floor. "Of course. In the penthouse?" She looked at him sideways. Where else would I sleep in my own house? But Clarice's night wasn't over just yet. She still had one more message to send. The elevator doors opened with a quiet slide onto the 12th floor. Clarice stepped out, her shoes brushing the thick carpet that lined the private hallway. There were only 2 suites on this level. Hers was at the end, the one she personally designed 12 years ago after sleeping in over 300 hotel rooms that never quite got it right. She unlocked the door with the keycard Roy had handed her earlier. The door clicked, and she entered. Warm, neutral lighting bathed the room. The curtains were half drawn, revealing the Tampa skyline in amber glow. The suite hadn't changed much over the years. The same white leather armchairs, the walnut desk, the built-in bookshelf lined with titles she'd curated herself. She set her bag down and walked over to the writing table, slowly easing herself into the chair. There was no champagne, no fruit basket. She didn't need any of that. Just a notepad and a pen. Clarice pulled open her laptop, but it sat idle while she reached for a sheet of hotel stationery. Handwritten letters meant more to her. They slowed the moment down, made it count. At the top of the page she wrote, "To all Rowland staff, from the desk of Clarice Rowland." She paused, tapped the pen against the table twice, then began writing. "Tonight reminded me why this brand matters, not because of how we look, but because of how we treat people when no one's watching. If you forget everything else, remember this. Our work starts the moment someone walks through our door, not after they show a card, not after they confirm a reservation, but the moment they arrive." She took a breath, her pen hovering. Anyone can give good service to a VIP, but only the best among us offer the same to someone who looks like they can't give us anything in return. Her eyes rested on the view outside. Distant traffic, quiet buildings, so many stories behind each lit window. Every guest who steps through our door carries a story we haven't read yet. Don't skip to the ending. Don't judge the cover. Read the whole person. She signed her name at the bottom, not with flair, just a signature. Strong, simple, certain. Clarice folded the paper neatly and slid it into an envelope. Tomorrow morning, it would be scanned and sent to every property in the chain. Printed, framed, posted near every employee entrance. She didn't need applause. She needed alignment. She closed her laptop. For the first time all day, she kicked off her shoes. Then she stood, walked to the window, and looked out. Somewhere below, the staff she'd spoken to were getting ready to go home. Some in silence, some probably already texting about what happened. But they wouldn't forget it. Not because she was famous, but because she showed up when it counted, and made sure they did too. A quiet knock at the door pulled her from the window. Room service. She opened it. A young man stood there with a silver tray. "Ma'am, I have your tomato bisque." Clarice raised a brow, amused. "Who ordered it?" He smiled. "Ms. Amaya sent it up. Said you helped create the recipe. Said you'd probably want it." Clarice took the tray, nodding. She was right. He turned to go, then paused. "My mom worked at the Rowland in Tallahassee. She always said you weren't just a boss. You were someone who remembered people's names. Even dishwashers." Clarice gave him a look that held no performance. Just warmth. "What's your name?" "Deshawn." "Well, Deshawn, thank you for the soup." He smiled. "Good night, Mom." She shut the door gently, carried the tray to the desk, and sat back down. Legacy wasn't built by big speeches. It was built by small moments remembered. She took a spoonful of the soup. Still perfect. Still hers. If this story stayed with you, take a moment to think about the way you treat people. especially when no one's watching. And if it meant something, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from.